thank you for your attendance. Do we have someone to confirm the first set of minutes? Start with the 26th of August 2020, the ordinary meeting. Or do you have a different order?
So, Mayor, just on the minutes, when it says to be circulated separately, we'll receive the minutes just electronically now. Is that correct?
No, it's just because the agenda's done so early now that that's before the actual minutes. Completed.
Obviously, print a copy if you need it, but it was circulated separately.
Yeah, my question was electronically. They haven't been circulated in hard copy.
Okay,
No, that's a question, not because I may have missed them.
that might have been missed.
You say you might have missed them electronically.
No. My question is, are we only going to get them electronically? Then I asked, were they hard copy? And if others have received them by hard copy, then I've missed them. No.
But I normally get a hard copy, so I'll put it in hard
We
copy.
can arrange for hard copies.
No, I've got them electronically.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have anyone to move on confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 26th of July?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 26th of July.
Sorry, August. I said July, putting you off there.
Sorry, August, 26th of August. Be accepted as true and correct.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Teams.
Okay, do we have anyone to confirm the minutes of the budget meeting held on the 2nd of September 2020 at 9:30 a.m? Okay.
I'll move that the minutes of the special budget meeting held on the 2nd of September 2020 be confirmed.
All right, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, do we have anyone to move on the special meeting held on the 3rd of September 2020 at 10:30 a.m?
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the minutes of the special meeting held on the 3rd of September 2020 and scheduled to commence at 10:30 a.m. be confirmed.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Do we have anyone wishing to confirm the special meeting held at on the 3rd of September 2020 at 3:30 p.m? We have a mover for that. Councillor Taylor.
I move that the minutes of the special meeting held on the 3rd of September 2020 and scheduled to commence at 3:30 PM be confirmed.
We have a seconder. Yep, Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Is there any others, Kel, that I missed or anything? Okay. 8.1, structures for community contact.
Conflicts of interest.
Declarations of conflict of interest, good point. Okay, do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? Councillor McMullen.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I, Councillor Jeff McMullen, declare that I have a perceived conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E of agenda item C1, with the subject heading Expressions of Interest, corner of Ironbark and Barnard Road. Perceived conflicts because I was previously a sponsor of the Roma District Motorcycle Club. I have determined that this personal interest is not of sufficient significance that it will lead me to making a decision on a matter that is contrary to the public interest. I will best perform my responsibility of serving the overall public interest of the whole of the council area by participating in the discussion and voting on the matter. However, I acknowledge that the remaining councils must now determine, pursuant to Section 175E(4) of the Local Government Act 2009, A, whether I have a real conflict of interest in this matter or a perceived conflict of interest in the matter, and B, if so, whether 1, I must leave the meeting while the matter is discussed or voted on, or 2, I participate in the meeting in relation to the matter, including by voting on the matter.
Okay, do we have anyone to move on that? Councillor Guthrie.
If you've got a question.
I just have a question.
Yeah, please.
I don't know when.
No, now should be probably a good time.
Councillor McMullen, tell me if it's not appropriate, but how long ago were you? Is it recent or?
Prior to council, once I got out of the business, I didn't sponsor anymore. As I make. Yeah, I just
that's a long time, yeah.
And I was, yeah.
And last time I remember you saying that your grandchildren were involved.
Yeah, well,
is that
all gone now? Well, not gone, but they're not, yeah.
they're not members?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Not committee members, anything like that. One might be still a permit or whatever to ride, yeah, that's all, yeah.
So, yeah, they may be they may be in the club perhaps, but not on the committee. You'd have to factor on that in council decisions. Okay,
Mr.
any other
Mayor?
questions? Yep, no?
I'm happy to move that Councillor McMullen does not have either a real conflict of interest or a perceived conflict of interest in the matter, and is accordingly free to participate in a meeting while this matter is discussed, including by voting on the matter.
We have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Burkett, any opposition?
Just a question. Councillor McMullen had just said that he thought he had a perceived conflict, so we're saying that he doesn't have a perceived conflict, but yet he said he thought he did have a perceived.
So there's different wording there.
So I'm just a bit confused about.
I'm happy to go option 3. I'm happy to say that Councillor McMullen has a perceived conflict of interest in the matter, and notwithstanding the conflict, Councillor McMullen may participate in the matter and discuss and vote upon it.
Okay, is the second happy with that? Okay, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Okay, any other conflicts?
I, Councillor John Burkett, declare that I have a conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E for the agenda item C8, subject heading Scout Hut Mitchell. The person interest arises because of my relation with another person. The name of the person is Gary Burkett and Lola Burkett. The nature of the relationship with these people is my father and daughter. The nature of the other person's interest in the matter is my father is the president of the Mitchell Rotary Club and my daughter is joining Scouts. I will be dealing with the matter by leaving the room while the matter is discussed and voted upon.
Okay. Any other conflicts?
No, I just have a question. I'm
Sure.
sorry, I'm not being mean, we're still trying to understand this. Councillor Burkett, is it a material personal interest when it's either your father or your daughter?
I don't class as material.
I'm just wondering if it is an MPI, not just a conflict of interest with the training we've had.
Well,
I'm not being mean, I'm just putting that out there as trying to protect.
well, is any, suppose it's to do with financial benefit. You are leaving the room anyway.
I'm leaving the room. I'm happy to ride on anything. Chuck us one up there, I'll fill out another one.
Oh, it's just my understanding that if it's like father, son, husband.
We did sort of have a discussion earlier, but I think I'm going to let you.
I'm not giving you any.
No, I'm leaving. At the end of the day, the result is I'm leaving the room, so.
And that's the same thing. Any other conflicts? Yeah, please go ahead.
I, Councillor Joanne Hancock, declare that I have a material personal interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175B for agenda item C.1, with the subject heading Expressions of Interest, corner of Ironbark and Barnard Road, Rome, at Lot 3 on SP 230317. The name of the person who stands to gain a benefit or suffer a loss, either directly or indirectly, depending on the outcome of the consideration of the matter at the meeting, is Nicholas Hancock. The nature of my relationship to the person is he is my son. Describe how you're the person or other entity stands to gain a benefit or suffer a loss, either directly or indirectly, depending on the outcome of council's consideration of this matter. Depending on the decision of council, in this decision, Nicholas may suffer gain a benefit or suffer a loss. In accordance with Section 175C2B of the Local Government Act 2009, I will leave the room while the matter is being discussed and voted on.
Do we have any other conflicts?
Do you want to read that out?
Well, it's up to you. Anything go a different way.
Mayor, I just think we've got to be clear that MPIs aren't defined by money.
Right.
Material doesn't mean money. That's been clear through all the training.
Well, that's where I get confused, because I wouldn't like to say that my daughter was my material, that was all. I'd get myself in the world to hurt more than this.
No one's watching.
I don't watch it, so. So I don't even know what I thought about it. So I, Councillor John Burkett, declare that I have a material personal interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175B for agenda item C8, subject heading Scout Hart Mitchell. The nature of my relationship to the person or entity is, the person is my father and child, should be parent and child. In accordance with Section 175C2B of the Local Government Act 2009, I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted. Oh, sorry, I should have had, he's the president of the Mitchell Rotary Club. My daughter is joining Mitchell Scout Group.
Okay. Any other conflicts, councillors?
I'm just going to bring something up that I don't think it is anything to do with it, but when LC4, so there probably wouldn't be any there, but when we're on a committee, the audit committee.
You're there, Councillor Edwards, as our rep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even if I knew the other people. But I don't. I'm just throwing it out there, that's all. The people who have nominated?
We don't.
No, I don't. But okay.
Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. 8.1, structures for community contact. I'd like to move that council non-elected have portfolios for the 2024 term 2, that council be invited for photo opportunities. For 3, be invited for council be invited for consultation with the community at meetings. 4, elect the mayor to be the spokesman in press releases, and if he's not available, the deputy mayor to be. And 5, instead of having advisory groups, schedule special meetings to hear feedback and concerns of former advisory members and community members on such topics as wild dogs, sale yards, etc., with the frequency of meetings decided by council, thus incorporating involvement of all councillors in all issues. Do we have a second for that motion?
Just ask a question first, Mr. Mayor. Number 2 and 3. Could we change that council, all councillors?
Yes.
And same for all councillors be invited?
Yeah, I'm happy with that on both of those, which is what I wish to happen.
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't think we've really had the briefing on portfolios yet. I thought we were coming to the table, I thought we sort of discussed it. The CEO mentioned that there was about 40 different areas and we might go through them and discuss them and decide what was good and what was bad. Don't think we've had that discussion yet.
But do we have them?
No, my understanding was that there was going to be a follow-up one with the.
No, my understanding was a follow-up as well.
But I think we did have one briefing, didn't we? Did we have a briefing on portfolio?
It was just a high-level one to hear about various options, but my understanding or the takeaway from it was that the suggestion was made that perhaps we might want to go through each of the functions that council performs and have a look at what the council might like to do, because it may not be a one-size-fits-all. I think that there might be some unintended consequences if we just say a blanket no to particular things. And I think the example was that there were 2 quite different advisory committees, and the council might have a different view on both of those.
I'd like to lay it on the table until we have that briefing, if that's possible.
Okay, we'll go to the vote on that. All those in favour?
Sorry, voting for when?
Laying it on the table till the next, till the briefing's happened. All those in favour? All those against? That's 6-3. Yeah, 6-3. Okay, so I'll move that. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second Mr. Mayor, sorry.
Okay. Any opposition? Does the mayor wish to speak? I certainly do. I believe the number one priority is what is the most efficient running of the local government, and I believe with this flexibility we will have the most efficient running of the local government. It's proven to work already in this term, and I'm really excited to have all councillors involved in all decisions, and all of the general public understanding that they have all councillors that they're as comfortable to speak to, which has not always been considered the fact.
Just before we go to the vote, Mr. Mayor, could I just ask a question? The way 3 reads at the moment, it could mean that individual councillors can't have meetings with members of the community without all councillors being present, which
I believe
seems to
I think councillors can have meetings, and this is to do with the whole council.
so
What clarification would you want in there?
because councillors really consult with community members about different things just in the ordinary course of events. So I think perhaps a little bit more detail might be needed with being invited for, is this council endorsed consultation? A consultation approved by resolution of council? Or consultation approved by council resolution?
Madam C, through the Mayor, maybe you just need to have community meetings or council endorsed community meetings and have community as the adjective, which then goes under the umbrella of
Council endorsed.
I think council endorsed is good.
yeah, council endorsed community meetings, so you're saying that they're meetings involving groups of people, not one-on-one.
Because quite often members of the community will ask to meet with whichever councillor or councillors that they feel comfortable in speaking with, and I would hate to think that that was not permitted.
And I don't think it should have by resolution, I think it should be council endorsed, because sometimes we do it via email.
For council, whenever you say for council, that is by resolution, the local government resolution.
But we have one on the books that is, 5 people. Majority of councillors want to have a briefing, they can have one, that's fine.
That's not a brief, that's not a, I think councillor Guthrie's point was fine, that covers it, because ordinarily there is a resolution to go out to community engagement for a particular purpose. Or
Council endorsed community meetings.
invited for, be invited for, sorry Cal, we don't need consultation now. All councillors be invited for community, council endorsed community meetings. So,
What does that mean?
sorry?
What exactly does that mean?
So if council decides, similar to the Surat community meeting, it came to the council resolved that they would go out to consultation, and that was arranged. So the way it's written now doesn't preclude if a group of some members of the community want to meet with the councillor or councillors, there might be 2 out of Mitchell, say, for one day. It doesn't stop people talking to councillors if they feel comfortable.
Is the seconder happy with that change?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Now, so be invited for photo opportunities, just from an operational implementation perspective. Are there going to be any boundaries around time and availability?
Oh, generally,
Because quite often we might need to organise something at quick notice. I just want to make sure that photos can.
well, if it's councillors in photo opportunities, it would be invited and given notice, so it wouldn't be dropped in on the last moment. That we'd ask the organisation of planning we're here every week to do that. So it's an opportunity, and not maybe all councillors can't be there for whatever reason, but at least they're invited to be there. And that's what 2 is about.
Mr. Mary, number 4, if we, again, the staff just need clarity about what this means in reality. If the person rings and you're not available, is the default then we go to the deputy mayor, or is it that you're saying that no, the deputy mayor can speak on that particular matter?
Well, once they contact me, I would say.
So do we need to make contact with, because the way it just says there that if you're not available, we'll go to the deputy mayor.
Yeah, like if
So
I'm not available, so I can make in contact, not available, if I'm not available.
So I think we need to update that wording, that the first, that contact is to be made with the mayor as spokesperson for all press releases and at his sole discretion.
Whatever the wording you want to do.
Yeah, so it's a bit different to bringing the mayor and he's not available, so we go to the deputy mayor. What you're saying is that the communication staff, let us start with you, and then you say whether the deputy mayor will be spokesperson or not. So it's not just whether you're available, it's whether you say so. Yeah. All right, so could I make a suggestion then that that the mayor is spokesperson in all, that contact is to be made with the
Initially.
contact is to be made initially with the mayor. Who will be spokesperson in all media releases. As the default, and happy for this to be massaged, councillors, but and if not available, if not, and at his sole discretion. He may nominate the deputy mayor to be spokesperson. And then that end might need to be in all. So contact be made initially with the mayor, who will be spokesperson in all media releases, or at his sole discretion, he may nominate the deputy mayor to be spokesperson.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor, does that mean if someone brings us up for a comment, we don't comment?
You can certainly comment as a councillor at any time.
Okay, so that also needs to be clarified then. Good question, Councillor Taylor. Spokesperson for Maranoa Regional Council.
Media release.
To remove, and then another sentence, to remove any doubt. This does not preclude individual councillors from making comment to the media about matters pertaining to Maranoa Regional Council.
So my view, you'd be doing it as your personal capacity, you'd be saying that, you know,
They would only be asked for comment as a councillor of Maranoa Regional Council. It wouldn't be there.
And that's true, Mr. Mayor, that's when you have to, by the Act, you have to state you're speaking in your own personal capacity.
well, you know, like it's your personal view, you're not speaking.
That's what you have to say that if you're speaking on your own, not on the council.
Speaking on behalf of the whole council.
The
Obviously,
individual is
you're a
being asked
councillor.
as a councillor of
Yeah.
Maranoa Regional Council.
Yes, you're obviously a councillor, but you're not saying you're speaking for the whole council, because people may think you are. Okay, righto, is the seconder happy with those changes? Okay.
And so if there's anything to do with service interruptions, Mr. Mayor, like if there's a water break or anything, so you're the spokesperson for that as well?
Oh, well, in the last term, there was ones that were asked from staff would just put them out sometimes, so there must have been some demarcation there. What was the demarcation?
No, I'm just trying to get clarity about the range of.
No, I think
So
to
it's
do
pretty
with.
much all matters with as a comment.
No, I would say based on the last term when the councillor was asked their comment there, we weren't asked about every question that's going out. Sometimes they just went out. So. We would like to put in
Okay,
based
who spokesperson for Maranoa, in all media releases where a quote is required.
That's it.
In all media releases where a quote is required, quote or quotes is required. And then Keltisburg, we probably just need to make sure that at the top it said that council. So we're going to have to fix up the preface for 1 through 5 because it doesn't read. So that number 1 would be put council in there and remove council from the top. And then that one becomes contact being made. Number 4. No, sorry, number 4. Contact being made. So just to clarify, so point 5, if you have a look at our standing orders, there's a section that provides for deputations to be scheduled during meetings, but that would form part of the public part of the meeting going forward. So I think council just needs to be mindful of that, that would be open to the public.
Okay, is the mover, the seconder happy with that?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Okay, now, would someone like to speak in opposition to the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is a big resolution with lots of different parts to it, so I actually do have a little bit to say on it with my concerns. With 40 different functions of council, portfolios provide an opportunity to work with council's strengths and to give them an opportunity to have in-depth knowledge of a certain function of council. While I believe that councillors should have knowledge on all things council, and community can talk to any councillor about any council issue, portfolios provide an opportunity to have specific knowledge of a certain function of council and to share this knowledge with other councillors. We have seen this in action in the last term, Councillor McMullen and the waste portfolio. The knowledge Councillor McMullen had in this area was not only beneficial to the community, but to his fellow councillors. I don't believe as a councillor you can have that in-depth level of knowledge over all functions of council, but when you share it around, you can be assured that collectively as councillors, you have the in-depth knowledge. It is about working together as a team to get the best outcome for the community. This is a prime opportunity to work as a team and to work to every councillor's strength and to share the workload. Portfolios are not about authority, it is about communication. Communication with community, communication with staff, communication with each other. If this motion is supported, I would like to know the plan going forward on how council will operate both internally and externally without portfolios. I agree with Councillor Taylor, we have not had a discussion on portfolios. We have had a discussion on advisory groups, but not on portfolios, so therefore there is no plan on how to operate without them to know that this is a feasible option. From what I hear, not many councils operate without portfolios. They actually find them beneficial to council and the community. As for advisory groups, I agree some advisory groups worked, such as the Cobb and Coastal Museum Advisory Group, and then some didn't work, such as the Road Advisory Group. Advisory groups are beneficial when there is a few community groups using a facility of councils. In the past, this has been a benefit to council and community to have all stakeholders at the table together to discuss the projects or issues around the shared facility. I believe instead of a one-size-suits-all and demolishing all the advisory groups, council goes back to the advisory groups and asks them their opinion on whether they would like the advisory groups to continue. As we have had some groups requesting advisory meetings. Only yesterday, I had a group requesting when will we have our next advisory meeting. They find them beneficial. Maybe they want them, maybe they don't. Maybe they don't need to be as frequent. Maybe they need to be more frequent. Maybe some processes need to be fixed up to make advisory groups work more benefit for council and community. It is important to remember that advisory meetings are used as a tool to communicate with groups. The communication goes both ways, community to council, council to community. If we don't have these groups, I feel that some groups will not have an opportunity to talk to council and staff together to hear the issues, because with advisory groups, council goes to them. It is not expected that they will have to travel to Roma for a special meeting with council. Because of all these reasons, I would like to put forward that we look at each individual advisory group and vote on them separately after we seek the feedback from the community. Let's not throw them all out all together with a one blanket approach. Let's ask the community their opinion. As for point 4 of the motion, I have a major concern for this, and I don't understand the reason for it. When the Mayor is putting forward to not have portfolios and for the Mayor and Deputy Mayor to be the only spokespeople for council, it feels to me, Mr Mayor, that you're trying to muzzle your fellow councillors. I'm sure the community would like to see that all 9 councillors that were elected are working hard for the region, not just 2 councillors, which would be how it would look if this motion is successful. As Mayor, why wouldn't you want to give us the opportunity as your councillors to grow and to be challenged in their role of councillor? If this motion is successful today, Mr Mayor, can you assure the council that you will be the spokesperson on all the decision of councils, including the decisions that you disagree on and vote against? Or will they be the ones that Councillor McMullen will have to speak on? And then what happens when you both disagree with the resolution? Who will be the spokesperson then? What will happen when you have to be the spokesperson for council and so a media release goes out from council regarding the resolution, and then you put a media release out when you speak in your own personal opinion against the resolution, which I've heard you do over the last term? Mr Mayor, the community will be getting mixed messages from the same spokesperson. This council is made up of 9 elected members who all bring different strengths, passion and opinions to the table. When councillors are encouraged to work as a team and not independently, and with shared responsibilities such as being spokespersons for council, this will then display true democracy around the council table to the community. So I'd like to put forward that we separate and vote on each of these points individually so that council can consider my recommendation to vote individually on advisory committee after advisory group feedback.
Okay, would anyone wish to speak for the motion? Councillor Guthrie.
I have given this long and hard thought to how I would vote, and I'm very, very mindful as one of the newly elected councillors. There's so much that I don't know, and I'm making a really determined intention to go to everything that I can, because I think there's a wealth of knowledge that we need to be exposed to and get our heads around. I really do believe that it is in the community's best interest to have all of us be invited to attend every event and every opportunity to meet with community people. I'm against portfolios because I feel that by giving it to one person, that person might become a specialist. Our job is not to become a specialist, our job is to represent all of the residents of the Maranoa in all of the different facets of council operations, and I truly believe that it's in the best interest for all of us to be equally knowledgeable and informed about all aspects of council operations.
Okay, would anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Taylor.
I would just like to say, well, I would have said what Jo said, because Councillor Hancock said that she said it so well. But my problem is, I don't understand why we can't have a briefing. We have a briefing or we have a special meeting on everything else that someone brings to the table. All I'm asking for is some information on those 40 things that I might be like Councillor Guthrie, I might decide, well, it's not for me, but I don't know because no one's told me what I need to know. And that is what works and what doesn't work. And 6 of us around here would have no idea. Absolutely none. So I just don't know why it's such a big deal that you have to rush this through when there's no need. Like, why can't we have the discussion on portfolios? I don't understand why not when somebody's asking.
Okay, would anyone wish to speak for the motion? Does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill.
I agree with Councillor Taylor. I think it is just plain disrespectful to the two councillors, in particular Councillor Taylor and Councillor Hancock, two of the new councillors here who have continually, since we initiated this term of council, asked for a briefing on portfolios, and they haven't had it. And I just think that is so disrespectful to two of the newest councillors in this chamber, and I simply don't understand why we can't afford the opportunity for all councillors to be fully briefed and fully informed on the decisions that they're making. That said, on the particular resolution before us today, I agree with a lot of what Councillor Hancock has said. There are councillors in this chamber that have passions for particular topics. They've got life skills, professional skills that could greatly contribute to the community that we all call home. I find it troubling that, Mayor, you're proposing to stop something that 6 people in this chamber have never had an exposure to. Yes, some of you may have observed from outside council, but you haven't seen it operate inside council. Since I was elected in 2012, we've had portfolios. There was a brief period after amalgamation in the term before the term that I came on where they had portfolios, then they didn't have portfolios, and then they reinstated portfolios because the community were calling out for the leaders that they put in this place to have champions, to be champions of particular areas, because we don't have divisions here. We don't have divisions. We all know that, we were regionally elected, but what we can have is thematic areas of council that each of us could drive. In the previous term, I saw Councillor Chandler, former Councillor Chandler, she had the tourism portfolio. You could not have got a bigger advocate for tourism across the region. Any committee in or outside of the region that was involved in tourism that would benefit our particular region, she was involved in. She was the powerhouse behind securing significant dollars to the Big Grid project. She did that because she had the portfolio chair of tourism. Councillor Flynn, in the last 4 years, he took over from the former Deputy Mayor, Councillor Wason, in chairing the Sayard portfolio. Now, it's not all beers and skittles out there, we know that. There are issues that need to be addressed. But in the last 4 years, Councillor Flynn drove investment into the sale yards. It was his advocacy as chair of the sale yards that saw the state government come to the party with investing in the upgrades that we've seen to our sale yards. We wouldn't have got that without portfolios. Councillor McMullen, I've said this to you before, Jeff, waste and environment. It may not have been your passion beforehand, I don't know, but it certainly was in the last 4 years. The container exchange program was driven by Councillor McMullen. It's been a success because of Councillor McMullen. Why did he have that portfolio? Because that was one of the themes that we had as a council. One of the areas of business of this council that needed to have a champion. We got it in Councillor McMullen. Waste and sewerage, Councillor Sheaf. We are headed towards an infrastructure cliff. Councillor Sheaf drove that. He drove that agenda. That is why, when you go and have a look at the plan that LGAQ has taken to the state government and to the opposition to commit to, at this election. That is why there are significant dollars attached to infrastructure. Our sewerage and water, the non-sexy stuff, as former Councillor Sheaf would say, but essential services. He drove that because he was the champion for this council. All of these areas, tourism, sales, waste, environment, water and sewerage, as a councillor that didn't hold those portfolios, I didn't think that I couldn't contribute. I didn't think I was involved not involved in any of the decisions. In fact, it's misleading to suggest that portfolios mean that you're not involved. Legislatively, under the Act, we are held responsible for the decisions that we make, and we must be across every facet of council. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have someone that is championing particular themes of this council. So I just think this is a complete and utter abomination to suggest that we should take a different path in how the strategic arm of the council works, where we've got 6 new councillors in this chamber that have never had exposure to it. And I've just given an example of one of the councillors that did have exposure to it, Councillor McMullen, who drove his particular area with the greatest of success. And so to go in any other direction will be to the detriment, I believe, of the people that have put us here in this chamber. As Councillor Hancock has already shared with the chamber today, to not have portfolios is going against the trend. Of the 10 councils between Toowoomba and the South Australian border, there are 6 that have portfolios, there are 2 that have committees, and there's 1 council that has none. Now, that's 9 to do the math. I haven't included us. There's 10 councils across the Darling Downs and South West. For the councils across Queensland, they're a category 3. 5 have portfolios. 5 have committees, which are standing committees and others. 1 council, 1 other council from my desktop research appears not to have portfolios or standing committees, but is a council that is divided. We are going against the norm not to give the responsibility of thematic areas of council to the people in this room that have been elected to champion our communities over the next 4 years. So I urge you, councillors, to reconsider this. If there's been discussions outside this room that have suggested to go a different way, I say disregard them. Have a look at the bigger picture and the need for us as a council to provide the strategic direction our community yearns for, and get behind portfolios that have been working here with a few tinkerings on the side that need to happen, right? And I've said that to a couple of councillors here already. I acknowledge that. But do not throw the baby out with the bathwater and not support portfolios for this term of council. Point 2 of the resolution, be invited for photo opportunities, no-brainer. Happened in the last term, not everyone could get there, but at least the portfolio chair, relevant to the topic that was being shared with the community, they were involved. Any other councillors could have come and attend if they could fit it in their diary. Being invited to community meetings for consultation makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense is point 4. To solely elect the mayor to speak on all aspects of council, quite frankly, is puzzling. Now, I have no problem with the mayor being a spokesperson on different issues of council, and have no problem with the deputy mayor being a spokesperson on particular matters that come before council. What I have a problem with is this resolution will strip the opportunity of the 6 new councillors in this chamber of having the same opportunities that Councillor McMullen did and the mayor did in the last 4 years and myself in the last 8. Why would you support a resolution that does not afford you the same opportunities that the people that served in this chamber have had before you? To be a spokesperson for your community on the decisions that you're making in here is one of the highest responsibilities that you have in this chamber. I've seen councillors with portfolios, and I've seen previous mayors that have not supported decisions in this chamber, but went out publicly and sold the message of the majority view of council. I've seen that happen. I want the same opportunities that I was afforded by my fellow councillors to be afforded to the new councillors here. I want Councillor Burkett to be on ABC radio talking about the future investments that we'll make into sporting fields, or infrastructure in Mitchell, or an upgrade to the spa. I want Councillor Hancock to be the person that the ABC goes to talk about the investments that council's making in Surat. But if this is supported today, it cannot happen. It cannot happen. If this is supported today, that resolution says that there is only ever going to be 2 spokespeople for the decisions that come before council. If it makes people happy, add into the resolution, but everyone speaks bar Councillor O'Neill, right? If that would mean that it would get up, I would be happy not to be spokesperson for the next 4 years if it meant that all of the people in this chamber that were new were afforded the same opportunities that new councillors should be, and that's to grow into the role of being a strong representative for the community that put you here. I think this is an absolute abomination and should be voted down today. In terms of 5, I get it. There are advisory committees that haven't worked, right? I've heard it, I've seen it. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There have been advisory committees that have worked. They need to be tinkered with. We need to make some changes. But by supporting this today, it says no to advisory committees across the board. And I think that's wrong. We should be working as a team of councillors around this chamber to get this part of the interaction with our community right. To me, this is simply policy on the fly. And if Councillor Taylor's suggestion was supported, that this was to lay on the table, it would give each of us an opportunity next week or the week after, before this came back for a decision, to further explore how we can best shape this for our community. But if this is supported today, you can't do that, and it's a backward step in what our role as elected representatives are to the people that put us here. And so I urge each and every councillor here to vote this resolution down.
Okay, I'll just sum up.
Mr Mayor, can I have a talk, please?
Yeah, please.
Just a couple of things, through you, Mr Mayor, I'd like to correct Councillor O'Neill. Everyone wasn't given the opportunity for photo shots last term. I clearly remember getting called over the coals because a community member asked me to a photo shoot or shot at a particular board, and another member of another council had been invited. And as for the ABC or any of those other people, there's nothing stopping them ringing any councillor, and they can speak in their own personal opinion if they wish.
So Mayor, were they questions to me or?
Corrections, I thought I said, did I say correct? I said correct, Councillor O'Neill.
And in fairness, if I can, Mayor, yes, I acknowledge that maybe not every time councillors were invited, but I recall the circumstances that you're speaking about, Councillor McMullen, and from that moment on, all councillors were invited. And in terms of the ABC, if this is supported today, ABC or any other media outlet, I might add, if this is supported today, you will not be able to speak on behalf of council. And that's what's being stripped by this resolution today.
Mr Mayor, can I just ask you a question? Because at the moment, previous to this, you can't go on the wireless or any in media and speak on behalf of council without, you have to have a portfolio chair, I suppose, nothing you could do it. You can't be approved, you've got to be approved to speak on behalf of council.
We have a policy right now, Councillor McMullen.
Anyway, and does anyone else wish to speak?
Oh, just a question. So, in regards to Councillor Taylor and Councillor Hancock asking for a portfolio, what's the usual process to get a briefing? Because it wouldn't have to go through a meeting, you just request one through S170?
We asked for a briefing.
Through S170?
Yes.
And
we were going to do it after the budget, because we were all busy with the budget, so can you wait till after the budget? Sure, no problem, I can wait till after the budget. And then here we are after the budget.
But that's been tested, so now we have to test the motion. Does anyone wish to speak? before I sum up? Okay. Well, I have been mayor in the last term, and I believe these points here will make us the most exciting, productive council that we can be. It's not about, in my opinion, personal likes and dislikes. It's about the whole nine council being involved. This is an opportunity to be involved. We have been working well as a council, very similar to this already. The community will not miss out. The community will benefit from this. This is exciting because as part of the Local Government Act, all councillors have the same power. This is harnessing that power. This is making the statement as a council that we will be here to make decisions for the community, and we will be connecting with the community directly, not as a representative of council, but all nine councillors connecting with the community. And this is how we solve issues, some issues that have been long-standing, some disconnection with community, where community does not believe that council is listening. So in situations like this, having everyone involved, I believe this is exciting, and I do believe council has had the opportunity to see how portfolios work from the outside, and I definitely in favour of this motion because it gets the most out of the 9 elected officials, I believe, and the most efficient running of the local government. And on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. Item 12.1, request for assessment 13014683 for extension of council's regional water supply zone boundary. I just have a question. Is the suggestion here to do what we have in other areas where you have the valve that lets so much water out per hour?
The restricted form.
Yeah. Okay, do we have any movers or any questions? Councillor McMahon.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council approve this request to expand the regional water supply zone and advise the applicant of the decision.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Ladbrook is first. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Thank you, Graham. Item 12.2, Apex Roma Children Road Safety Sign. Morning, Cameron.
Morning, Mr Mayor. How you going?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Councillors?
I just had a question. Do we have a choice of which sign? I just think that the yellow and the red seems to stand out a lot more. Or are they sort of keen to have both signs?
Mr Mayor, the red and yellow will probably be our preference too. There was just two examples drafted up, but when they come up, yeah, obviously the yellow and red does stand out quite a lot. So just a couple of points I wouldn't mind making as well, Council. You'd notice the original request from Apex was chasing about 41 signs around the region. I extended an invitation to meet with the President of Apex and have a discussion around a couple of matters and essentially arrived at the recommendation in front of you. A couple of key points. Signage in terms of road safety is what's described as an administration safety control. So in terms of its effectiveness, it's not great. So what I've suggested was let's focus on some sites where there isn't already like a proliferation of signage, such as a CP or a school zone. Let's focus on sites like the ones recommended in this report, where these signs actually will stand out and potentially have the best chance of making a difference. So just so that you can understand the initial request versus the recommendation as well. Dyson was obviously very understanding of that and the input from council. So I just didn't want these signs going up thinking that they'll make a big difference where if we hone in on these particular sites, I think these would be far more effective signage.
Councillor O'Neill?
Through you, Chair. Cam, it wasn't clear to me in the resolution which of the signs, which is it, it's the rectangle shaped sign that's been proposed.
Yep.
And then which one of those?
It probably was the other two drafted. If we wanted to really get some clarity on that.
Because
dot point number 1 could be approved the installation of the yellow and red road signage at the front. That would be.
So that's what you're recommending is that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it stands out more.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, that was it, council. We spent quite a lot of time. I'm a huge advocate of road safety, obviously, and I didn't want to sort of say no to this, but I also am mindful of there's already a lot of signage out there. So I think this is a good compromise between still making a difference, working with APEX, but not going and putting 41 signs out that may have not as effective as a few.
Councillor Hinkle?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Just to be clear, Cameron, they are asking for, they're paying for the signage and we're installing them, is that correct?
Through you, Mr Mayor, that's correct. Yep, so APEX will pay for the signage. I genuinely think there's an opportunity to build this into general operations when the teams are circulating around to really reduce the cost of council. As it says in the report there, I think I've looked at these sites individually, I think there's a real opportunity to optimise the existing signage as well, so we don't need to put in additional posts with them, so very low cost exercise, I think. Yeah, please.
So, it doesn't, I just look at the one there in Chinchilla, is it? On the left-hand side.
Yeah, that's
No,
where you
it's
put
just-
it.
like it's, or is that just a photo? I mean, is there any way you can enhance it so that people do take notice of it?
Rectangle.
Yeah,
Through you, Mr Mayor, the signage that's proposed is a lot bigger than that little corridor.
yeah, I know, but it's still, it's not. I'm just wondering if there's any other way of enhancing it to make people aware of it, because, yeah, I agree with you, it's, yeah, instead of doing 41, it's best to try and look at this location and then try and make people more aware of it. I'm just wondering if you get more knowledge of it, people more motivated to put up. I don't know, instead of putting on a pole like that, put a yellow something around it or something just to attract people to it. It's just a thought.
My own comment to that, Mr Mayor, we just got to be a little bit careful that these are not regulatory signage. We don't want them. I think, personally, I think we've tried to maximise how they will stand out. The example you're looking at there is on the Warrego Highway, which is a very busy environment, whereas somewhere like Arthur Street or the Flash we saw there, there's nothing else really in the area. It will bounce out. I just don't want to make them too big because they will dominate a regulatory sign such as a speed sign, stop sign, or your way sign, which is what we don't sort of want to do. So I think this is a low cost option. If there's opportunities to maximise it, we can look at this after these themselves.
Does it basically go around schools, or would you not think maybe entrances to town to slow them up? Or is it just normally around school areas?
Yeah, Councillor Taylor, I've done a lot of work around it. School zones, when I've done a lot of sort of trying to understand the best out of this, school zones already have their own specific treatments. I'm concerned if you're doing these in school zones, it could be a little bit confusing for motorists as to they being distracted. That school zones obviously have a big thing on rights that already they've got specific treatments. I just don't want this to dominate.
Yeah. Well, I can see where they are around town on these ones, like near the pool and that, but not out of town, like at the 60k zone there, so that people start to slow up, right?
Yeah, no, it's something that I could raise.
That doesn't
the
matter,
approaches
just
to
wondering,
town,
really.
yeah, no, that's okay, the approaches to town do fall under Department of Main Roads.
Yeah.
But it's something that I have been regularly, I can at least discuss. There's one of the sites that was initially identified was near the community school there. I passed some details on to Main Roads and put us in contact with the Main Roads contact there. So, but yeah, the approaches to town could be something that I mentioned.
Councillor McMullen?
Through you, Mr Mayor. Cameron, I note they're 600 mil high. Would a standard give way sign, it'd be about 600 mil, would it, from in the peak?
Yeah,
Just to get a bit of an idea of the size.
they're around 750 to 900s. Yeah, so 650's just
Just under that,
yeah. They're 60 Ks and that are a bit bigger than that. They're normally 900 by 600 and that sort of thing.
So you've sort of put them in areas with not a lot of distractions, so hopefully they stand out a bit more.
Correct, Mr Mayor.
That's the kids are around.
Yeah, but to be quite honest, if you put a sign like this in the CBD, if you want to see it, there's that much distractions that you really want to see it out. So I've met with Tyson to discuss these specific locations and why I think they can't be recommended.
Just through you, Mr Mayor. The only suggestion I'd make would be places like Lions Park where there are more likely to be kids playing and concentrating on balls, etc., not paying attention to cars that might be driving past. That would be my only suggestion.
Yep, not a problem. I did mention Lions Park, obviously as a location, it's got to be sensitive that that's the membership of Lions versus APEX issues.
Sorry,
No, but I did all get on.
it's about kids. It's about kids. That's
No, that's right. Yeah, but I don't think if there's a bit of success in here and the community sees some benefit in this, this is not the end of it. If there is other locations, I think there could be another tranche that, as I said, the community should get behind it. Yeah, I think it's a good starting point.
And Councillor Taylor, I think if you see benefit in us doing something in those high traffic areas, working with main roads, that might even have to be a lit sign or something, which we might have to do, whereas this is a bit more low key, but hopefully it'll stand out and been planned to be put.
Yeah, so the locations there, obviously we've got the school, one near the college, site one, site one obviously.
Can you just pull out the locations, please, to insert rather than just as Cameron is talking? Thanks. Sorry, Cameron.
You're right, so we've got obviously got the one just down here, which has got the kindy, you've got the tennis courts around, fair bit of interaction there. The one down near Flash School, site 2, I think there's quite a few kids, but not in the formal school zone. Near the pool, obviously, there could be a lot of children wanting to pass across there. And then the last one, down near the skate park hospital, you've also got the kindergarten, so I've had a good look at what's around there. There could be a high percentage of children crossing at that location.
Councillor McMullen first, and then Councillor.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Cameron, you might have mentioned this, I might have missed it, but the location at these, I'll use the one near the kindy here, wherever we are over here. The signs, how far back were they? You might have mentioned, but I wasn't.
That's okay. I'd probably just get you some confirmation, but I'd be hoping to put them on the pedestrian crossing.
Right, that's it.
Which is already.
So you're already there, right?
I just got to double check that we can do that lawfully. But that's where I'd be picturing fairly close to the pedestrian crossing, much further back in other words. They're relevant.
Yeah, that's right.
Through you, Mr Mayor. Just with the one near the hospital, it's a major intersection. Would you double up on that and have them on each road? That's the only one that's actually on an intersection. So would that be on Cole Street and McDowell?
Yep, there's an option there. There's probably 2 proposed there, but to have 4 there is not would be the 2 were originally proposed because of the pedestrian crossings.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think it's a great idea. I'd also agree if you go to other areas and there's another opposition club, like say Mitchell's only got a Rotary and we've got Apex, and it might be up to them to step up the game and do it.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone want to move on this?
Mayor, I'll move.
We're just popping the sites into the resolutions. So just bear with us for one moment. And then that way, Cal, we can put at the following 4 locations. Following 4 locations.
While we're waiting,
Thanks, Councillor. Sorry.
I just have one other question while we're waiting. I just noticed in the body of the report that Apex Roma would like to establish this initiative in the Roma and Maranoa community with councils in kind support. So I noticed that this is just in Roma, but is it an intention of Apex for this to go out to the wider communities?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, discussed this with the President, and there wasn't interest in looking at these other towns there, so again, the focus was probably initially Roma, but other towns such as Wangara and Yilba have been floated as a potential site, so again, I think this is just a step one in something that the community sees real benefit in, they can get behind it.
And I guess it would be, it's a great initiative, and so I just wonder, in those towns that might not have an Apex or a big body, Apex might, are these signs just Apex signs, or so for instance, if Advance Engine want to put them in June, could they use that and put their logo on it, or are they just Apex signs, do you know?
It wasn't an initiative started by Apex, the Kids Don't Bounce sort of initiative, so I'm not 100% sure what trademark or rights Apex may have on that. But
And what have kids don't roll?
But they might, those peak bodies in each of our town might have an opportunity to maybe work with Apex.
Yeah, the only thing I would suggest is when it comes to road safety, it's all about predictability and giving consistent messaging. So that would be the only thing that if I was to ask to make a recommendation to council, we would want to keep consistent messaging where so that if they do go through Wangara, Yilba, Roma, it is consistent. Again, signage we just need to be mindful of keeping the restraint on signage is only it's an administration in terms of it's administration style risk control. So it's effective, but it's like
You'll lose your punch if you go through the wall limits a bit, like it's like having an orange give way sign instead of a red one, like it's going to lose that.
Road safety needs to be everything needs to be pretty so that the mind doesn't need to understand what's going on. It's the same sign, the same message.
And kindergarten. Sorry. Kindergarten. Just got one.
Right, we have a mover.
Yeah.
Councillor McMullen.
Everyone finished, no one else wants to speak? Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 approve the installation of the yellow and red road signage at the following 4 locations. Site 1, Bungle Street pedestrian crossing near the kindergarten. Site 2, Duke Street pedestrian crossing near the corner store. Site 3, McDowell Street pedestrian crossing near the pool. Site 4, McDowell Street crossings near the hospital, skate park and playgrounds and childcare. And to prepare and issue a media release including a photo with representatives from Apex Roma once the signage has been installed at the above locations.
We have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? I'll speak. There's a fantastic, thank you staff for their work on this, Cameron, and also thank you to Apex for initiating proactive road safety and keeping kids safe in the Maranoa. So these sorts of projects are great for council and Apex to work together. Looking forward to it being delivered. Okay, anything else? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 13.1, annual membership of Outback Queensland Tourism Association in Great Inland Way. Councillor O'Neill.
Move the council renew their OQTA local government membership in the 2020-21 financial year. 2, council renew the Great Inland Way Committee local government membership in the 2020-21 financial year. And 3, pay a total of $32,851.50, including GST, local government contribution to OQTA, and $3,000 including GST, local government contribution to Great Inland Way, with expenses to be costed to council's tourism budget, memberships and contributions with work order 14484.2537.2001.
Okay, do we have a,
We might just put that council at the top again.
that'd be fine. Justine's got a bit of information.
Just a new council, I'm not sure if you can leave with 2 groups, and obviously we're 2 groups in 2 different camps there, but that seems like just a very, very good idea, 2 groups.
Outback Queensland Tourism Association obviously covers from Roma, where the east of Maranoa, the eastern part, and goes all the way up to Mount Isa. We're competing in the domestic market with places like Cairns, Whitsundays, Gold Coast that have marketing budgets of multi-million dollars. We have $40,000. So by paying this membership, it gives us greater collective power within that tourism marketing space. So we get access to their social media, we're included in their destination guides. They lobby to the state government for us, they help with a lot of the funding that we've received in tourism over the last 4 years. So there's quite a marketing and political lobby group. The Great Inland Way is Sydney all the way up to Cairns, much smaller operation, but yeah, I've worked in tourism for 20 years and the Maranoa has been on the Great Inland Way committee for that whole time. $3,000, we get a brochure that goes to all those visitor information centres, all our visitor information centres, so that's Surat, Roma and Intune on the Great Inland Way. Are involved in that. They're basically just a brochure production and get us involved in the Drive Routes Trail. So they're both organisations that we've been involved with for a long time and we get good domestic market benefits from being involved in both of those groups.
Just a question, in light of River Action Group doing a visitor information centre at Mitchell, will that include Mitchell in there as well?
No, not on the Great Inland Way. Definitely Outback Queensland Tourism Association, but Great Inland Way is just, it is a highway and it just doesn't go through.
So it goes this way, does it? It doesn't go out west?
No, Sydney, Intune, and
Right, okay, so it can't be involved.
Sorry, which one was that?
the Great Inland Way is just the highway from Sydney straight up to Cairns.
It's part of the place.
No,
No,
sorry,
sorry.
the inland one.
Yes, Surat, Roma.
This way.
Yes.
It's part of 2 strategy.
Okay, any other questions?
Justine, the OQTA, so you said they help with funding, as in do they help you get grants?
So the way it works, to apply for state government funding, you have to be a member of a regional tourism organisation. And so then they provide letters of support, they provide strategic direction. It was purely because of OQTA that we got that iconic tourism funding, that we were identified in that. They lobbied very hard for us on our behalf to do that to the minister. So that membership helps in those areas.
Councillor McMullen?
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, just a question. It's, where do they drive, what is driven the price, $32,851.50? Like,
It's a funny number.
yeah, that's what I just thought, unless it's just a percentage of a figure.
It is, I
Like
think
with
they
32 or 33, nearly 33.
somehow they have a formula based on population, so
Oh, okay.
because we have not an even number of population, they figure it out, and that's how we get that.
Okay, any other questions?
So was that the figure last year?
Yes, they have kept membership the same because of COVID, and they understand that councils and businesses in tourism and hospitality have been tough, so they have kept their membership the same. Same with the Great Inland Way, also has kept their membership the same.
Okay, no other questions? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Hancock, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? Councillor O'Neill?
Through you, Chair, tourism is an important sector at the best of times. but it's going to be incredibly important going forward, both to get our local economy driving again, but there's going to be a unique opportunity for our domestic tourism market. And as long as the international borders are closed, we need to be marketing ourselves as a go-to destination for tourists. We need to get people back into our motels to drive our local economy, and we've got a lot to offer in this space in terms of our tourism assets right across the region. There have been times when we've been involved in a different tourism association, 2 tourism associations, and now the Outback Tourism Association. And I think this is where we naturally fit. And if we can get the economies of scale by being one of many members across the local government fraternity that drives tourism in our region, then that's a benefit to our community. And of course, we've got one of our very own locals, Meryl Eddy. She is on the board of OQTA and doing a fantastic job in representing our interests from this part of the Outback tourism region. So I heartily support the recommendation.
Does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 13.2, Bright Nights Project, Projection Project. We have a mover. Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council provide a letter of support to the South West Queensland Regional Arts Services for an application for the Bright Nights Projection Project in 2021.
We have a second, Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak?
Yes, please, Mr. Mayor.
Well, you wish to hear?
Does she have anything to say? No.
Right. Okay, Councillor Hancock.
Mr. Mayor, I just think is once again it's a tourism focus, and we are all well aware how important tourism is to our region and supporting our tourism events. So I think this is a great project. I would also like to acknowledge that I think that this project falls perfectly in line with the Surat project of lighting the Shire Hall, and I've spoken recently to Michelle Blair about that project, and hopefully the skills that are learnt within this project then can be used to maybe assist the SDDA's project of lighting up the Shire Hall with a similar project.
Okay, do we have a seconder for the motion? Oh, that's right, Councillor Taylor. Does anyone else wish to speak? Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item 16.1, Attractive Communities in the Maranoa. I'd like to move the report be prepared for the upcoming council meeting. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? Sure.
What are you
So basically, what I'm envisioning getting a report back is about an insignia that can either go in, if no one has a front fence, it would go into the lawn. If people would like to nominate someone else for an award, or an insignia that would go on a fence to say, like, you know, we have basically recognising them by having an attractive house and yard. So it's trying to lift everyone up to a higher standard, and as you know, in the Maranoa, we've got some people doing an amazing job, and it is thanking them for what they're doing and recognising them, and hopefully someone else would like that as well, so they can go to the next level.
Mr. Mayor, Toowoomba Regional Council does a similar thing, and during Carnival Flowers, and they actually put them in the front windows of houses, saying that you're supporting and they become either part of one of the visiting tour. They actually advertise where you can go and see beautiful gardens, and it's just an acknowledgement of those who look after their gardens and are proud to be part of the Toowoomba area.
Councillor Taylor, do you have another?
Yeah, I just wonder about the water. Like, is there any way in this report we can incorporate something about some sort of discount on water or something? People want water to do that.
if they're footpaths,
Well,
incorporate the footpath.
yeah, so because the budget was fairly tight this year, that's why I didn't bring it up, but I'm very supportive of that. And I believe we'd have to look at it for our next budget because, you know, that does take money out of the budget and give a rebate. This is actually highlighting the people that are actually like top performers in our region. And it's a small thing to say, you know, council recognises your efforts, which I agree, the footpath, the, you know, water rebate, I would like to see council consider that, but we'd have to build that into our budget. We can do it at any time, but we've got to find that money, so I think it would be better, Councillor Hancock.
Mr Mayor, I realise that this is just a report asking for a report, but just to help with what might go into the report, I would probably like to suggest that, and I'm sure our staff will cover off on all bases because they've come up with great solutions, but I feel it would have to be something that is removable, because if it was permanent on a fence or a house, it could then become a joke if that is a rented place and they move and then it is still permanent on the fence, or I feel that we would need to consider something that could be, that isn't permanent to that house.
Oh yeah, I think that would happen anyway, but some people might want to put it on their fence and others don't have a fence, so they put it on their lawn.
Or in their window.
Or in their window. Yeah, what I'm looking at and hopefully get back in a report is something that people can drive past and see easily. And it would be 12 months a year that it would be there. And obviously if there was a change, council would have a clause to say, look at it if the house is sold, whatever happens. Okay, we have a move in a second. Do we have any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? I think we've spoken a little bit already. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Put the government to close. We'll just declare a conflict of interest. I, Tyson Golder, declare that I have a perceived conflict.
Do you mind if we just add for clarity that we add an item to the agenda?
First?
Yeah, and then that way you've got something to look your declaration to.
Okay, does someone want to move that we're going to add an item to the agenda? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I move that we add item LC5, update on flood mitigation matter, be included as part of the late confidential agenda.
And it will be for reasons of H under section 275 of the regulation, which is the other business.
I was just going to say that.
Thanks,
Thanks, Julie.
Okay, we have a seconder. Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? Go on to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, now I'd like to, I, Councillor Tyson Gold, declare that I have a perceived conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act, section 175D and E for agenda item LC5, flood mitigation. The personal interest arises because my mother, because of the name of the person with the personal interest is Carmen Golden, the nature with the person is she's my mother, and the nature of the person's interest in the matter is my mother had a flood mitigation matter in the previous council terms, which has been concluded. In this term?
Oh, sorry, it's concluded.
Which had been concluded in the last term. And I'll be dealing with this matter by leaving the room whilst the matter is discussed and voted on. Okay, moving on. So we'll go into class. I move that in accordance with provisions of section 275 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the Local Government may resolve to close the meeting. I'd like to resolve to close the meeting to discuss confidential items that council or members consider it necessary to close the meeting. Do we have a second for that motion? Councillor McMullen, all those in favour? 9-0.
I, Councillor Wendy Taylor, declare that I have a conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E for agenda item C2 with the subject heading Indian Caravan Park Amendment to Fees and Charges. The conflict because I am the treasurer of the Roman Clay Target Club. I will be dealing with this matter by leaving the room while the matter is discussed and voted.
Okay. Okay, I move that we go back into closed session. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen, all those in favour? 9-0.
Councillor Wendy Taylor declare that I have a conflict of interest as defined by the Local Government Act 2009, Section 175D and E for the agenda item C19 with the subject heading Indian Caravan Park Management or Lease because I am the treasurer of the Roman Clay Target Club. I will be dealing with the matter by leaving the room while the matter is discussed and voted upon.
Okay.
I'll move we go back into closed.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbrook, all those in favour? 8-0. L3.
L2 or L3?
Hi, Jade.
L3, L3, the Direct Heating Program, Manager of Water, Sewage, Gas, extension for Maranoa Water Supply Security throughout Millbar Township, requested variation.
Currently, the timeframe for that externally funded project is end of December, which is only about 3 months away. We're really going to struggle to finish the project in that time. Because we shifted SIRAC, we have to reapply for our permit as well as our license. And also to try and get the power there and order the switchboards and everything else in time would be a real struggle, so we're asking for an extension. And since we wrote the report, there's also been a problem with the Woodlawn Wall. The aquifer that the state had listed as where we're getting our water is not entirely correct. We're actually getting our water from more than one aquifer, which you were allowed to do previously, but you aren't allowed to do anymore. So we've got to choose which aquifer we're going to get our water from, and it could be different to what's on our license. We have to get them to acknowledge we can do, and then we probably have to apply for a new permit and a new license for that as well. The other option is we try and go into the government because we noticed that we might not have adequate water, in which case we might have to transfer water from Roma because they wouldn't allow us to take any more water in that area. But all these issues, are really delayed as we will struggle to do it by the end of December.
Sorry, Graham, do we need then to also get approvals for those variation requests for licensing?
So
Do we also need a resolution for?
You probably will, but it may not be today's meeting, this is the 10 meeting.
It's not something that we can easily scoop into.
We don't really know which aquifer.
we still got to try and sort out which aquifer we're going to go for and whether we do have
So you have to
to
bring that back to.
But you're right, it will come back to you.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Why would you have to take an extra allocation?
At the moment, we're taking from at least 2 aquifers, maybe 3, and we're not sure that if we go to a single aquifer whether we'll have enough supply. but it all depends on which aquifer we can take water from and what the amount of water is, the yield is available.
If you go to one aquifer, how's that going to, what's taking something from the Roma allocation, what benefits that's going to be?
Graham was saying there that at the moment, where they're drawing from previously is coming across possibly the 3 aquifers.
Yeah.
So in total, it equals X amount of water. He was saying that we're probably not licensed to take from the Gabamunda. So if we are going to try and, if that's where we're going to say the best water is, we're going to try and go to that depth. And we don't have a license for your call that depth. We don't, and it's already over allocated, we'd like to transfer some of the rainwater, if that's the aquifer we've
So what happens to the if that was the case, what happens to the current allocation in Yuba?
Which is probably a different aquifer, but it may not be that.
We would maintain that for the old bore then, because we were just sharing it between the 2 bores. We would have to keep that for the old bore and just keep it as it is.
So it's not a volume thing, it's aquifer.
Correct.
But if, whatever we do, we've got to make sure it's got a lot of water, right? Because it's a big one for the council. So we've got to get the right aquifer.
Yeah, correct, and that's the report that Julie alluded to, it's got to come back to the council. That's probably not enough information for that one today. It's about asking the funding body to give us extra 3 months to complete.
Yeah, because I'm not, I mean, times we've only just scraped it through on our allocations in Rome, aren't we?
Runs, it's a one like runs, we had a bit of testing the run one.
We're only using about 65% of our current allocation per so we do have a lot, and the volume we're talking about would only be about 3 or 4% of the run allocation.
I know it's not the topic now, why are we going on water restrictions? If we're going to use 65% of our allocation.
And that was probably one of our previous councillors used to ask that question, because when we did the, we've always been within our allocation, we've got the capacity there. And that was probably one of the previous councillors would always say, well, why do you have water restrictions? It was about trying to control watering at the right time and water conservation, all that. It wasn't an allocation thing. It was one of the previous councillors you might remember was saying, he always thought all the time he was on council, he thought it was because of an allocation thing.
Well, that's all right.
When Graham said, no, it's not an allocation thing, that's what he actually was saying.
And Councillor McMullen, let's get to January and have this conversation, and we'll see how many complaints we get about the lack of pressure. I mean, while we've had new infrastructure come on board, it hasn't been fully tested yet, and revisited there.
That's probably 3 years to me. That was a big one around the Bass Park area, where every time we get around that January area, you turn the hose on and you go, here's probably to the CEO, the sprinklers, and then they put that variable speed pump in the tanks.
And the isolate.
And it's impressive.
Yeah, that's right.
But that was the reason probably why Romantown first brought it in, was because everyone turned the hoses on, having showers at night, and you pressure it like that. As soon as you put those reservoirs in, the variable speed pumps, it solved all that problem, and that's when this particular council was saying, well, why do we now still have water restrictions?
And the loss of the big pumps from powerhouse too, mate, not being able to use those tanks anymore. The pumps are sitting out there, nothing to do,
Right, any other questions on this one?
No, thank you, Graham, you did answer my questions, so thank you.
No other questions?
No,
So where we going to close?
Yeah, we have a seconder, Councillor McMullen. All those in favour? 9-0. Thank you. On to the confidential agenda. C1, expression of interest, corner of Ironbark and Maranoa Road, Roma, lot 3 on SB 230317. Councillor Hancock is leaving the room. Okay, do we have a mover on this one? I would like to.
Sorry.
Wendy.
Oh, you have something?
No, you want me to move? Are you moving something?
No, you can move something, go ahead.
I'd like to move that council will enter into the 10-year lease with the Roman District Motorcycle Club for the use of Lot 3 on SP 230317, and 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign the lease contract.
Okay, we have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Thank you. C2, in-June Caravan Park, amendments to fees. I'd like to move that one, council amend the fees and charges, amend the fees and charges register include the following site fees for the in-June Caravan Park. A, powered site, $150 GST inclusive per site per week. B, unpowered site, $125 GST inclusive per site per week. And C, pensioner rate, $115 GST inclusive per site per week. 2, waive fees and charges for caravan park tenant Thomas Taylor from 26th of June 2020 to 9th of September 2020. We have a seconder, Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. C3, Wallumbilla Pool Management Agreement, option to renew. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council approve the extension of the Wallumbilla Swimming Pool Management Agreement for a further 12-month period until 1 October 2021.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? Going to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C4, page 110. C4, page 110, South West Drag Association Incorporated, lease agreement over Lot 5 on RP 10338. We have a move, Councillor Burkett.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I move that Council 1 commence preparation of a lease with the South West Drag Racing Association Incorporated and Roman District Motorcycle Club in respect to the group's shared use of Lot 5 on RP 9130338 located at Kimbler Road, Roma. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to execute the lease and any other associated documentation. Did I miss something there, Kel? Just to do that one again, of Lot 5 on RP 910338, located at Kimbler Road.
And you do point 2.
I can do it again, yeah. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to execute the lease and any other associated documentation.
Cool. Kel, would you mind being able to make that a bit wider, please? We have a seconder. Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Page 122, in June swimming pool, request to amend opening hours. Do we have a mover? Councillor Guthrie.
I'd like to move that councillor consult with the Injune community regarding the request for an amendment to the opening hours of the Injune pool.
We have a seconder. Councillor Ladbrokes. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to, does anyone wish to speak? Does the member wish to speak?
No, I truly believe that there would be community support for changes to these opening hours.
Okay. Does the Councillor O'Neill, do you wish to speak against the motion?
Well, I'd like the resolution read out again, as Councillor Guthrie has just shared, if I can, because I'm now frightfully confused. Exactly what you just
that the
moved, if you
council,
could, please.
I'd like to move that the council consult with the Injune community regarding the request for an amendment to the opening hours of the Injune pool.
Okay, I'll speak against it.
Please go ahead.
I think what is best here is that we enact a trial of 6 months on the changes that have been proposed by the lessee, and then we seek the feedback from the community through that trial.
Just councillors, apparently there was an email circulated earlier.
Just make sure you all got the email from Tanya earlier. Just want to make sure that you'd all seen it. There was some conversation.
Yeah.
Happened there.
Oh, sorry, I hadn't read that
Just
one.
making sure
Sorry,
Councillor
there was
Guthrie's
discussion.
not
I'm not sure if you'd seen that email.
Sorry, I hadn't read that email.
No, that's okay. That's right.
It wasn't shown.
It was.
2, 3, 5, 3.
It's in front of you.
Yeah, but it wasn't when we read the resolution, it wasn't.
Sorry, Councillor, I should have just wanted that at the start there.
Does that change your resolution at all?
Well, I'm now aware that there's been conversation with the new leasee, and if she's happy to change the hours as given there in the table, that seems reasonable and fair. Yep. Sorry, I hadn't read that one.
So through your Mayor, Councillor Guthrie, you'll now have to amend your resolution, and the Mayor will have to seek the seconder whether if that's what you want to do.
Okay. So I will amend it. I will amend it to what's on the screen now and say that I move that Council 1 conduct a 6-month trial of the following amended opening hours for the Injune pool. And number 2, as shown
Sorry,
in the...
no, we can't see the Monday.
Sorry.
So you might have to read it out.
So the days would be Monday, the pool would be closed in the morning and open from 3 o'clock till 7 p.m. in the afternoon. Tuesday would be a 6 o'clock in the morning a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning, and then the afternoon would be a 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the afternoon. Wednesday the pool would be closed for the entire day. Thursday the pool would be open from 6 a.m. in the morning till 9 a.m. and then once again in the afternoon from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Yep.
Thursday, mentioned Friday, it would be open from 6 a.m. in the morning till 10 a.m. in the morning. And once again, open at 3 p.m. in the afternoon till 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Saturday, the pool would be closed in the morning, but reopen Saturday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And Sunday, the pool would open on a Sunday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Number 2, be provided a further report at the conclusion of the trial, which incorporates feedback from the community.
Okay, is the seconder happy with that motion? Change? Who seconded it?
Yes, I am.
Councillor Ladbrokes. You happy with that? So that is the motion now. Is there any opposition to the motion?
Number 2 is number 2.
Yeah, number 2 was
Yeah.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak to the motion or against the motion or at all? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Seat 6, State Government Surplus Properties, Maranoa Region. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that further information be sought from the Queensland Government as to how the acquirer intends to use the land, and if there is likely to be any vehicle movements either entering or exiting the site onto Curry Street as a result of the proposed acquisition.
And do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C7, page 133. C7, unallocated estate land, lot 312 on A3843 and lot 313 on A343. Or A3843. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the council advise the Department of Natural Resources, Mines and Energy that unallocated state land being lot 312 on A3843 and lot 313 on A3843. 1 is not needed for a public purpose. 2, there is no public demand for the land. And 3, council offers no objection to the proposed further dealing of the purchase of the land on the condition that the purchaser is aware. Access to the land parcels is not to be provided from Basalt Street at its current standard. Council has no current plans to upgrade Basalt Street. Any new development of the land parcels may be subject to council's development approval.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Page 142, C8, Scout Hut Mitchell. Do we have a mover? Oh, Councillor Burton's left the room. Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 amend the current facility use agreement held with the Mitchell Rotary Club to reflect that the Rotary Club will have non-exclusive use of the Scout Hall and associated building located on Lot 1 on M15136. 2, enter into a non-exclusive facility use agreement with the Mitchell Scout Group in respect to the Scout Hall located on Lot 1 on M15136 to reflect the new shared arrangement with the Mitchell Rotary Club. 3, pay the electricity charges for the Mitchell Scout Hall in recognition of the group of the group's shared use of the facility and in support for the newly reformed Mitchell Scout Group. And 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign the agreement.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Taylor. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. C9, page 157. Execute the agreement between Medium Water, Pty Ltd and Maranoa Regional Council. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to execute the agreement between Medium Water Proprietary Limited and Maranoa Regional Council.
Mr Mayor, do you mind if we just change the subject heading of that just to agreement between, that doesn't really sit well.
Yeah, agreement between Medium Water, Pty Ltd and Maranoa Regional Council. Okay, we've got a mover. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C10, agreement between Maranoa Regional Council and Robert Good to publish the Catching the Kenneth's book. Councillor Burkett.
I move that council reply to Mr Good's request and propose a 3-year extension to the existing Catching the Kenneth's book publishing arrangement. Oh, sorry, my bad, it's been a long day. I move, the council, 1, consult with the community regarding the publication and distribution of the Catching the Kenneth's book. 2, further consider receive feedback at an upcoming council meeting.
So that's the motion now. The other one has been changed. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Ladbroke, you're in favour. Thank you. 9-0. C11, page 198. Surat Digital Connectivity Project. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hancock.
That Council 1 providing principal support to the National Broadband Network NBN Co, submitting an application under the Regional Connectivity Program for the town of Surat. 2, subject to the ongoing negotiations with the Queensland Government under the Building Our Regions region, approve a maximum allocation of $250,000 from the Surat Digital Connectivity Project as a co-contribution to a funding application for the Regional Connectivity Program. 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign off on any agreements that are consistent with the contents of this report.
That's meant to be programs.
Yeah, that's correct.
Regions program instead of regions region.
Building Our Regions program is the typo. The second region.
Yeah, just trying to find that.
Yeah, you're on it now.
Okay, so you've moved that, Councillor Hancock?
Yep.
Do we have a seconder for that motion?
And could we just check point 3 to sign any agreements? We don't need off on.
That's fine.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor, or do we have one, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Taylor, good to see you. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C12, page 213. Request for fee waiver, Dunkeld Pony Club. Councillor Burkett.
I move the council waive the hire fees for the Dunkeld Pony Club to use the Mitchell Showgrounds on the 26th and 27th of September 2020.
Do we have a second?
Mr Mayor, I'll second it, but I think we should add in that the, what's the word for the in-kind budget? Do we need to put the GL number in? It's in the report, but not in the resolution. Normally we do say it.
And then it'd be funded from the.
It's in the report.
For councillors, normally, when we actually don't have a budget allocation, we normally have to nominate a number, work order number.
It's here in the.
But this is the normal work order that we would normally use. I know we used to put in there that we moved away from actually quoting a work order number when you had a work order number specifically for it. We always had to quote the work order number if there's no budget for it. You had to say where the money was coming from.
I'm happy with it.
Which is a transfer as opposed to.
But we always did do it that way, that's correct, yeah.
I'll second the motion as it is.
Righto. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C13, page 218. Request to vary the operating hours from a particular event at Morelands Bush Nursery and Function Facility. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that Council A approve the request to vary the approved hours of operation at Morelands Bush Nursery and Function Facility for a particular event, St John's Catholic School graduation dinner, to be held at the premises on Thursday, the 22nd of October 2020, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. B, approve Council's planning officers to coordinate discussions between representatives of St John's Catholic School Roma and the adjacent landowners of the Morelands Bush Nursery and Function Facility ahead of this particular event. C, write to all stakeholders and adjacent landowners that this is a one-off approval due to the impact that COVID-19 has had on holding functions across the region.
I'm happy to second it, but do we have to say right to the stakeholders and adjacent landholders to advise that this is?
To advise, I'm happy with that.
To advise that this is a one-off approved. I'll second it at that.
Okay, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C14, page 225.
Councillor O'Neill, are you happy if that's 1, 2 and 3, just for consistency?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I
The
was-
rest of council happy with that, rather than David?
Is the mover and the seconder happy with that?
Well, I moved.
It's cosmetic, it doesn't change the intent.
I was just reading out what was in front of me. Exactly what was in front of me.
Well done.
Okay, C14, request for reduced trading terms. Do we have a mover? Councillor Taylor.
I'd like to move that council approve the request for the reduction in trading terms from 28 days to 14 days for any invoices submitted by creditor 13575.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C15, write-off of amounts in accounts receivable. Do we have a mover? Councillor Edwards.
I'll move that council approve the write-off of sundry debtor account debts as presented owing to the current status of being irrecoverable, to pursue further recovery action.
The glasses are working.
Do we have a second?
Sorry, it's a bit disjointed, that sentence. Yeah. But anyway, do we get the full intent of it?
I think you got it right.
Yeah, no, I read it okay, but it's just a bit. See.
I know what you're saying, Councillor Edwards. We're just, if you can just give us a moment, we'll have a think about how that might be worded. A little better.
You probably don't need the second part after the comment.
It's essentially saying it's not commercially
Yeah.
viable to pursue the debts. Something to that effect.
Council approve the write-off of
Right, some debtor account debts. Or it's not financially prudent to pursue recovery.
So I would put that at the end. I would have put that after.
To pursue further recovery.
Irrecoverable.
as presented as an offer.
Further recovery action. As it is not.
Right. So is the mover happy with that? Do you want to read that out again?
The council approve the write-off of sundry debtor account debts as presented, as it is not financially prudent to pursue further recovery action.
we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen's first. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. C16, page 240. C16, request to grant discount assessment 120111813. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move the council does not grant the discount on this occasion, as the circumstances do not meet the criteria in council's adopted revenue statement for granting discount.
We have a seconder. Councillor Taylor, any opposition? I'll speak in opposition. Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Mr Mayor, I sympathise with what's before us today, but it just does not fit within the criteria that we have as part of the adopted revenue statement that was presented to council only a fortnight ago last week, and which was adopted by council. And so therefore I can't in all good conscience support going against the policy that has been adopted by this council.
I'll speak against the motion. I certainly understand that, but as I've been speaking for quite some time, I believe that we should be taking into consideration payment history, and I believe in a year of COVID-19, we have many challenges, and I believe it is a time to try and find some flexibility. Does anyone else wish to speak for the motion or against? Does the mover wish to sum up?
Thank you. This council, since coming into office in April, supported the extension of rates that the previous council had adopted. In fact, it was the longest period that I can recall of when we could pay our rates. Unfortunately, for the individuals that have come before us here today to considering their application for awarding the discount, as I said, they just don't simply meet the criteria that's in our revenue policy, which, Mr Mayor, there was an opportunity to amend only a week ago.
Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 7-2, I call for division. C17, Waroo Sporting Complex, raw water requirements. Councillor Hancock.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'll just wait for Cal.
Sure.
I move that Council 1 provide in-principle support for the project, being the installation of 2 tanks with a total capacity of 90,000 litres and associated pumping equipment to be located near the cemetery. 2, refer the project to the first quarterly review to provide funding to allow the project to commence.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion? We'll go.
Oh, sorry, Mr Mayor, I was just rereading that. Mr Mayor, yes, I would, thank you. I would just like to say that, as promised, when all of us councillors were down in Surat, we promised the community and the Waroo Sporting Association that we would have a look at the water issues at the Waroo Sporting Complex, and this motion supports the fact that council has looked at that and that we are committed to finding a solution for the problems that they have brought to our attention.
Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? 8-1 if I call for a division. Okay, C18, Roma Sayard's enhancement to stud stock selling area. Councillor O'Neill.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 approve the supply and installation of a trial barrier and grab rail on the second tier from the top of the central section of the stud stock selling arena at the Roma Sayards, and as an additional safety measure to enhance the access and safety of the facility. 2, approve a budget allocation up to $5,000 for the supply and installation of the above-mentioned barrier and rail with funds to be sourced from the Roma Zayac Reserves GL 19550.9569.9550. 3, seek feedback from Roma Zayac users prior to and after installation of the trial barrier. 4, continue to monitor the operation and function of the stud stock selling arena and whether any further actions are required.
We have a seconder, Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
Only to say, Mr Mayor, that concerns have been raised, Council's listening to those concerns, and we're looking at what options could be a permanent fixture to mitigate the concerns that have been raised by some of the stakeholders of the Roma Zayac.
No one else wishes to speak. We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Councillor Taylor's leaving the room. Tender 21003, Injune Caravan Park Management or Lease Agreement. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 not accept any tendered submissions. 2, continue to manage the caravan park and investigate management model options where they further report back to Council for consideration.
We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Item LC1, organisational structure. I would like to move that the proposal presented by the Mayor proceed to consultation. We have a second for that motion. Councillor Ladbrokes. Any opposition? Does the mover wish to speak? I certainly do. I think obviously can't say too much at the moment, but this, I believe, is a fantastic opportunity for the Maranoa, and I'll look forward to moving to the next step of consultation to glean feedback as part of our process when we have to do a major change to the organisational structure. Would someone like to speak against this motion? Councillor Taylor.
I'd just like to say that I feel a bit sad about this because there was 3 motions given and this is the only one going forward. And I just feel really sad that we don't actually get to move our stuff forward or there's not enough discussion about anything. It's just a matter of that's what you decide, that's where it goes. I'm just disappointed that it's gone by itself to the next level.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion? Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Yes, I too am really sad. I thought when I was elected that I was actually elected to be part of a team, but obviously that's not the case. We must stop looking backwards and start looking forwards as a council. Once again, I was looking forward to the opportunity to work with my fellow councillors and our staff as a team to come up with an organisational structure that would provide the best outcome for the community and that we would all have had the opportunity to be involved with the input of that. That is not the case today. This motion has been put forward. Once again, Mr Mayor, it concerns me that, and quite frankly, it's disrespectful to your fellow councillors that you're so close-minded and you won't even consider any other councillor's opinion or staff member's opinion on a way forward. It seems to be it's all your way, there's no negotiation. I actually am thinking, what benefit is there for me to be at the table? Because if it isn't in line with what you think, you say, this is my plan, this is a plan that's going to work, this is a plan that's going to be put forward. Where is the room for drawing on other people's strengths and opinions around the table to come up with a plan that, as a team of councillors, that we could all be happy with? For transparency, I believe all three options should go out to a consultation. Is council trying to hide something by not putting all three out for consultation? Mr Mayor, you say that you've consulted the community. You say that this is what the community wants. Well, if that is the case, put all three out. You won't have anything to worry about. But it will be transparent. There will be nothing to hide. It will be transparent and the consultation can be on all three.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak for the motion? Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
Through you, Chair, there'll be an opportunity in coming weeks to debate the positives and negatives of the organisational structure that you've moved to go forward here tonight. But I hope that the other councillors see the merit in providing all three to the staff. As Councillor Hancock has already shared, yourself and many councillors campaigned on an open and transparent local government. It is not open and transparent if we as elected representatives of this chamber have been working on three different organisational structures, albeit with a lot of similarities as well. It is not open and transparent that they don't go to the staff. You know, when I look around this chamber, I can't see anyone of the elected representatives that has run an organisation with 350 staff. I certainly haven't. And I challenge any councillor to tell me that you have. And so we need to seek advice to make the best decisions that we can. We've got a CEO, we've got directors, we've got senior staff that have provided us advice today. Well, I think we need to be open and go to all of the staff with the three options that have been debated, discussed, amended, modified by many of us in this chamber. I mean, let's not forget that, Mr Mayor, it was yourself that presented what I would say respectfully and colloquially a back-of-the-envelope type organisational structure. That's okay. It started a conversation in this room. It got us thinking about what the priorities were from us as the strategic decision makers of this council, what we wanted to see changed for the organisations to deliver the services that we need them to deliver for the people that put us here. We then subsequently had quite an in-depth meeting of councillors, and I remember it vividly because it was my birthday. We sat here and we all had an opportunity to put what we wanted forward. The staff went away and came back with an option that pulled that all together and presented it to us, right? We then had yours come back in a much more detailed format, as it should have. And then we've subsequently gone even further to see what a further option might be of bringing them together. And yet, that isn't going out to staff. And I just think that is absolutely wrong. I spoke about it last week that we are here to uphold the principles of the Local Government Act. Principle B is sustainable development and management of assets and infrastructure and delivering effective services. D is good governance of and by local government. I don't believe that it is we are achieving either of those if we are not doing a full consultation on the options before us with the broader staff. Point C of the principles of local government is it includes community engagement. To me, our staff are vital in being part of the community that will provide feedback on whether what is being proposed can actually work. I've heard today, and I'm not going to divulge what Councillor Hancock shared with us, but when I said earlier that we needed to go out to hear from the broader staff, Councillor Hancock gave a solid example as to what we would get. It's only a handful of months ago that Councillor Hancock was on the other side of this chamber. She was a staff member. She provided insight into things that I hadn't thought of from sitting around here. That's because she's a staff member. We need to think about what the feedback that we're going to get from the staff on these options, and we shouldn't be afraid to put all three of them out and to hear that feedback. We may not like it. We may not like it, but we have to accept it, we have to acknowledge it, and then ultimately we have to make a decision. And I think we will be poorer as an organisation, we will be poorer as decision makers if we don't have the respect to put all three of the options that all of us have been discussing in here out to the consultation across the staff, and ultimately we'll make a decision and we will debate the merits of those three options at a later date once we've had the feedback from the 350 plus staff that make up this organisation.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion? Well, then I'll sum up. Yeah, this I believe is the option that has been tested with the community. The consultation has happened. Now we're really just moving a motion to proceed to consultation in a different sphere. And this is probably the most exciting opportunity for the Maranoa since amalgamation. And I'm looking forward to, if this is supported, to keep going on the journey and get the consultation and then bring it back to council and for council to make a decision. So this is exciting. This ticks all the boxes, I believe, that we need to be responsible for as councillors, and that's why I'm bringing this forward today to be decided by council. Okay, on that note, all those in favour? All those against? 6-3 if I can call for a division. And as far as reasons, I would like to say efficient running of the local government, creating competitive local business.
So this is the reasons for not going out with the reasons.
This is the reasons for this decision. And improvement of services delivered on the ground locally.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, with all due respect, the reasons of the decision that you've just made is explaining why you didn't go with the officer's recommendation.
Because of those points that I'm saying, efficient running of the local government, and everyone is to have their own decision on it. And I believe this model is the one that delivers that. If it was others, I wouldn't be, I'd be putting them all out.
So is there a reason there's a reason that you guys didn't want to put the other three out, like that the three didn't go out? Because there'd have to be a statement, something about that in there, because that was the recommendation.
The reason for going against the recommendation.
Well, I'm happy to say, and I've said it in our closed meetings many times, that this particular structure is replicating the way that many government organisations, for example, Education Queensland operates, with individual schools operating autonomously within a regional structure. And it works well, and I believe there's a good basis here for further investigation.
But is that the reason why we're not going for the three going out? It's not about the structure that's going out, it's about the fact that we're going against the officer's recommendation that the three should have gone out.
The officer's recommendation is very clear. the statement of reasons, from my understanding from what we received in the training the other day, has to be a statement of reasons as to why you did not go with the recommendation that was put forward by staff.
And the recommendation would be that the other, I would imagine that people did not believe the other two will fulfil our responsibility as councillors, making strategic direction. And why would someone put something out that doesn't believe that it would do that? Okay, moving on. LC2. Sole invitee CN 14740 mining infrastructure contract with the Department of Transport and Main Roads for environmental maintenance activities in 2020-2021. Councillor McConnell.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to sign both the invitation to offer and the resulting minor infrastructure contract with the Department of Transport and Main Roads for 2020-21 environmental maintenance activities to the value of $97,350 GST exclusive for A, herbicide spot spraying declared plants element 5 and B, maintenance of fire breaks element 6.
We have a seconder, Councillor Edwards. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. LC3, Chips Museum Engine. Councillor Guthrie.
I'd like to move that a report be prepared for an upcoming council meeting.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Item LC4, Audit Committee, appointment of external members. Do we have a mover? Councillor Edwards.
I'd like to move that Council authorise the final steps to be undertaken and confirm availability of those shortlisted to participate in the meeting Thursday, 7th of September 2020.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen was first. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. So it's LC5. I'm out of the room for this one.
The Mayor's left the room, so LC5 update on flood mitigation matter. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Hancock.
I'll move that further to Council's resolution on 26th of August 2020, a capped value for legal costs be added to the proposed settlement value in line with the.
Seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition to the motion? Anyone wish to speak for or against the motion? Okay, no one wants to sum up? No, I'll put it to the vote. At 8-0. Thanks, Ken. Where are we at? What one's left? one you got, sorry? Late items. White.
Okay, we're moving on to Lake White. I would imagine. L1, Register of General Cost Recovery Fees and Commercial Charges. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council 1 receive and note the report, 2 adopt the updated Register of General Cost Recovery Fees and Commercial Charges, 3 resolve that in relation to these cost recovery fees to which Section 97 of the Local Government Act 2009 applies, 1. The applicant is the person liable to pay these fees, and 2. The fee must be paid at or before the time the application is lodged, and 4. Delegate the Chief Executive Officer the power to amend commercial charges to which Section 262 3C of the Local Government Act 2009 applies. That's it.
And yeah, it's to those cost recovery fees. I think you might have said to these.
Where is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, to those cost recovery fees.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? I'm going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. L2, successful application for community drought fund support. Do we have a mover?
Actually, Mr Mayor, from my recollection, Councillor McMullen had already moved this and I'd seconded it, and we'd laid it on the table, but then we couldn't do it at the last meeting because Councillor McMullen left early, so then we couldn't do it. So we did get the information, and that was the amended motion that I put forward to you, Councillor McMullen.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm happy to go with it. Well, I better read it out.
The only amendment to what I'm seeing on screen now is, would we please be able to refer it to the Strat Christmas Carnival? It's not a party.
I thought I read that in the minutes of the meeting.
It didn't go, it was laid on the table.
Oh, but that was in the...
But you'd already moved.
I just skipped through it, I didn't read the topic. Okay, look, I'll have to read it out, eh?
Righto.
1, that Council 1 authorise the Chief Executive Officer, CEO or delegate to sign funding agreements as required. 2, offer the following community group events an equal share of the successful funding amount offered: Roma Show, Mitchell Show, Wallumbilla Show, Indian Races, Surat Christmas Carnival. Is that it, is it? Yeah.
Do we have a seconder?
I'd already seconded that.
Right. I've got a question. Would the mover be willing to incorporate Surat Campcraft in there as well as one of the people for beneficiary and share it between them? Would the mover be...
From memory, Mr Mayor, there is no Campcraft this year.
No, but I think it's not till, it's for another 12 months this is available.
No, it's available to December.
December this year.
That was what was in the
I think that's right.
Is that correct, Rob? Because I thought it was 2021, it was December, it was told. But if it's 2020, then it makes a big difference.
I think that actually referring to the reporting dates. Yeah.
So it's going to be spent by the end of this year, hasn't it?
One of those later terms, a couple weeks ago.
I thought we made a phone call.
No, that was about if it actually extended.
Oh yeah, and what did they say then?
Back then, what was the reporting time frame? And the reporting time frames were actually exactly what was in the report there, so there's no change to that.
So it has to be done by Christmas time.
Yeah.
I read the report last time, it was 31st December.
Yeah, no, you can change it. Sorry, Director Sharon was just asking about, once it goes out in the application, can you change it? The advice that came back was you can within the time frame. If you,
But the time frame is Christmas, isn't it?
yeah.
Because I thought we deferred it to December 21, which means that it might be.
That's the reporting one, yeah, I just checked there for.
Personally, well, we could probably just answer the question anyway. I wouldn't agree to that. I think that then you're taking money from other community groups and you're giving 2 to one community and only 1 to the others.
Yeah, completion at 11th December.
The previous report had the.
It did, it was the 31st of December.
The previous report laid on the table actually did have the application and the
Yeah.
application, all the guidelines. And that's not good. But that is my recollection, that's it.
And just from
The previous one. The application and the guideline.
Yep. So you think it's the end of this year? Okay. Well, I'll withdraw that question to the mover. Do we have any opposition to this motion? Did you have a question, Councillor O'Neill?
The expiry date is the 31st of the 12th, 2021. Agreement expiry date in the report from the meeting a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Councillor O'Neill. I was just saying that in the previous report, we actually had the application and actually had the milestones.
Have you got that there, was it
But, yeah.
2021?
It says that the agreement expiry date is the 31st of the 12th, 2021. And the milestone report has to be submitted within 28 days after the 31st of December 2021.
Oh, so I'm correct to be
So
wrong.
that's the reporting deadline that we have to. So it should be 2 days from recollection. I've got it in front of me there, Councillor O'Neill, but there's 2 dates there. There was December 2020, which is the application and outline your reports. Your nomination.
Oh, I see, and then it's for 2021.
So had that in by December. The question that came out of the last meeting was confirm that the actual dates were nowhere in this per the guideline, and the acquittal was actually December 2021. And the question was also asked, would the department actually, if it's December this year that you're going to get your projects in, would they consider a change? They said yes, even chose in relation to COVID, they might consider it.
The only thing I would say, Mayor, is that there could be a chance to apply for more of this funding next year, and you would be splitting the contribution in one community. That would only be one thing to consider if we could apply for more funding next year. But you've withdrawn it, as you said. So.
Yeah, I have. Okay, has anybody got any opposition? Does anyone want to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. L3, Drought Communities Program, extension for Maranoa water supply security, Surat and Yulbar Townships, request for variation of the funding agreement. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer, CEO or Delegate to sign a request for variations for the Surat and Yulbar bore projects funded under the Drought Communities Program, Extension 2. Extension 2, 1, extend the project completion date to 31st of March 2021. 2, increase the project budget for the change to Surat bore location.
We have a seconder. Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. L4, Red Rose Foundation Red Bench Initiative. Councillor O'Neill.
I move that Council 1 provide in principle support to install one red bench in each of the major towns within the Maranoa region: Jackson, Yorba, Wallumbilla, Amby, Muckadilla, Mitchell, Mungalala, Injune and Surat. 2, approve the installation of the red benches as referred in dot point 1 should one of the following budget opportunities be available during the delivery of the 2020-21 Capital Works Program. A, inclusion within the scope of an existing park upgrade project for the towns, or B, cost savings identified as part of the delivery of the 2021 Capital Works Program on projects associated with parks and gardens, footpath upgrades or other concreting works.
Councillor O'Neill, I'm just wondering whether you would be willing to add to your motion consultation be done with each community. We're considering putting them in if we decide to do it. And then the second question is, because not everyone might know about the Red Bench project, I'm wondering if there's any signage or anything that we could do, since we've got a few red benches now. Is there anything that we could look at there to tell the story of why we have a red bench rather than a colourful bench? What your view is on that with the motion?
So 3, consult with community groups in each location, and 4, develop in consultation with local organisations that provide support for domestic violence around the appropriate signage that would complement the installation of the red benches.
I'm happy to second that motion. Is there any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I will. Mr. Mayor, as you know, I am a big supporter of this initiative. It was one of the major presentations that was part of the LGAQ conference in 2019 from the founders of the Red Bench project, where they are working with local governments right across Queensland to bring attention to domestic violence in our local communities. And this is a conversation starter as to why we need to stamp out domestic violence and provide support for people that find themselves in a situation where domestic violence is a major concern for them. So I am very pleased to see that we have one of these down at the Big Rig Parklands already, and thank you to Cam and his team for making that happen. And I think it would be a welcome message if we were to be able to install these right across the region and allow our community to have a conversation as to why we as a region, why we as people of the Maranoa need to stamp out domestic violence.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I think it's a great thing too. Is it in parallel with like the white ribbon sort of thing? Are they separate, the same sort of thing? Yeah.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll just like to say I totally agree with Councillor O'Neill's comments, and anything we can do, and the more we can, as was said, highlight the issue, it may give someone the strength to be able to, help in their situation. Okay, if no one else wishes to speak, we will go to the vote. All those in favour?
A second?
Yeah, I second it. Yep. All those in favour? 9-0. Okay, now L5, LGAQ Annual Conference, Notice of General Meeting and Voting Entitlements. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
Oh, well, we really haven't had a conversation
No,
about
that's what I was
this.
just going to, do you have to move first, have a discussion?
Well, no, I think we need to have a conversation. We did, no,
No, we haven't.
Well, is anybody interested in going? Right, okay, well,
Mr Mayor, before I make a decision on anything, is this the right, can we add to this, I've got a resolution, you know, like we put up resolutions, put forward, is that going to come in late? Can we still do that at a later date?
I think Councillor McMullen, they've been cut off for this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you should still put it forward as a report, so it's on the books, so that when the conference comes around for next year and they call resolutions, it's ready to go.
So we never got there.
Well, my gut feeling is they are absolutely close because we're so close to their annual conference now. They'll be going through them, but I think you still need to put it up for us to consider. You know, and as I said, if it's on the books, then it's ready for the CEO to submit next year.
Get on the back of the Merway one about the levy, try and get them, well, basically what they said, the council put forward the following motion that the LGAQ lobby the federal government to impose a levy on all tyres imported to or produced in Australia to assist councils meet the cost of recycling or disposal of tyres under the state government waste management levy and waste reduction targets. Yeah.
So that's already gone.
That one has, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You vote for it.
Just vote, yeah. Okay, that's right.
So I'm happy to move, but there's 2 delegates, but it's open. There's observers can attend this conference as well. So if I'm going to move something, I'm happy to include others that we're thinking about going.
does anyone else wish to go except for the 2 councillors that have asked? No, it looks like just 2.
I'll move that I'll move that Council 1 receive the notice of annual general meeting. 2, consider that Council appoint Councillor O'Neill and Councillor Hancock as delegates to attend the LJQ annual general meeting on the 21st of October 2020, an annual conference on behalf of Council, and note the advice from LJQ that delegates on the form notification of delegate voting entitlement should be the same persons registered as delegates through the online conference registration system for the annual conference. 3, authorise the Mayor or CEO to sign the notification of delegate voting entitlement on behalf of Council. 4, well, that's not needed now. 4, draw applicable registration, travel costs and accommodation costs from attending councillors' conference budget allocation.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Burkett, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0.
Mr Mayor, we'll
Zoom in if you want that.
Well, I'm just trying to think what we did a couple of times. Do we get to talk about all the motions that are?
In the past, it's been a bit ad hoc. Generally just had a bit of a, everyone has a read, and then if you want to, when you, like the one that you just highlighted.
Yeah, right, but I mean, when will that come to us to talk about? When's it? You don't have to put you don't need to know if you actually leave, the day you leave here with what we're suggesting that we vote for.
Well, historically how it's worked, if I can, ma'am, that those that felt passionate when you had a look through the resolutions, you spoke to the delegates, but you've empowered 2 delegates now to represent the council, and so now it's upon us to make sure we're across all of those policies, speak to them and debate them on the floor of the convention.
That's fine, yeah.
But I think they're ready. or be very close to coming out now. That's
The resolution, yeah, that's what I was I thought it was one, previously we discussed it amongst it all.
We did, yeah.
Okay, any further business, councillors?
One more.
One more on here.
LC5 was.
Oh yeah, L6. L6, new Christmas tree and decorations Surat Tinsel Trail. Do we have a mover? Councillor O'Neill.
No.
Oh, Councillor Edwards, sorry.
I'd like to move the report be prepared for an upcoming council meeting.
Do we have a seconder?
And I have a question just before we go to a vote.
Sure,
Mr. Mayor, too.
please go ahead.
No, you go, Councillor.
So my question was, I'm just wondering, where did the request come from, Councillor Edwards?
Came through for, there was a city meeting for, on behalf of, Elizabeth,
McLean.
say again?
McLean.
McLean.
Liz, not Libby, Liz. So, mother-in-law. So just my question is, I don't have a problem with the report at all, but we already had a letter, council received a letter from the Surat Tinsel Trail, which is from Liz, requesting a few different elements of support. One were the banners, and we've done ratings for the banners, but I thought that there was something else within that motion, so I'm just wondering.
And there was, Mr. Mayor, that's what I was going to raise too, because Councillor Guthrie, I remember you moving it, because it wasn't just Surat, it was Yulba.
Christmas tree.
I asked for $5,000 to be, that was the one that I remember mentioning, to make sure that every town got a look in and was treated equally.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
But I don't think that covered the Christmas tree.
It didn't cover the Christmas tree, it was for banners basically. It was-
Because Elizabeth said that the Christmas tree they had down there was falling apart. It was, it was falling apart, and she said there'd been something maybe put in back in January 2020 or so, January 2020, I think.
So there was a letter to councillors, we all received a letter, and I believe it was part of that report, but so if we, as part of this report, if we could find that letter, because it actually had all their requests on it. The banners were one of their requests. It was because of that letter that it triggered for those banners to come to council, which then triggered that there wasn't banners in other. So it was because of that. The other thing that we need to maybe consider as part of the report is the old Christmas tree actually belongs to the STDA, and maybe the STDA would like the opportunity to be part of this. Maybe it would be a great community grant opportunity to partner with the STDA, the Surat Tinsel Trail. So,
because just for context, in terms of the Councillor Edwards mentioning the Roma Christmas tree, which is fair enough comparison, it was second hand, and it alone was about 10,000. So yeah, a brand new one. We priced it, because council partnered with Commerce Roma at the time, and we got a second hand one because a brand new one was just too expensive.
Because also part of that was also asking for help for, with the Tinsel Trail with in-kind support from our town and surrounds people, because I remember speaking on that. We already put the Christmas tree up, and we already take the Christmas tree down, council does.
Can I just suggest that as part of the report that all be looked into, I guess. That's
Will be prepared for an upcoming meeting, and that it includes consideration of the existing customer requests.
Yeah.
No, this will run back.
Yeah, there's customer, she did mention that there was one.
But I think the feedback is they'd like a new tree down there, so happy to get everyone involved, I would imagine, and come up with a solution. Do we have a second for that motion? I'll second that motion. Is there any opposition to the motion? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Any further business?
Have we missed Kel? We haven't.
Didn't lay out on the table.
No.
I'll move we go back into close.
Councillors, just before the mayor closes, could I just request that we add a supplementary item to the agenda for organisational structure, proposed supplementary actions, because I think that things that I just need to discuss with councillors, having heard the debate and some potential other steps that could be happening in parallel. So could I seek council's approval to add?
Well, I'll move that we add an additional item to the agenda, being organisational structure proposed supplementary actions.
For the reasons, section 275B, industrial matters affecting employees, and also for council's budget.
Is that why I'm moving it to be on the agenda?
For both reasons, it's industrial matters, but also for budget actions as well.
Well, so moved that that's on the agenda.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McMullen, all those in favour? 9-0.
And I'll move we go into closed.
We have a seconder.
For the reasons that the CEO has just articulated.
We have a seconder. Councillor Hancock, all those in favour? 9-0. Okay, LC6, organisational structure, proposed supplementary actions. We have a mover. I'd like to move that the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to seek feedback from the Employee Consultative Committee about an appropriate period of time for the consultation process and the range of feedback options to be used for the consultation, and the results of the discussions be circulated to councillors informally. And number 2, feedback from the consultation process be provided to council for consideration prior to any additional steps being undertaken. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Ladbroke, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 9-0. Any further business, councillors? I'm going to close the meeting at 8:12 p.m. Thank you for your attendance.